Once upon a time, I had a client who was so good at so many things. But when she looked at her house, she felt defeated. It felt like the clutter was always winning. And I asked her one time, "What is it about the clutter that is bothering you?" And she said to me, "It feels like a life or death situation. It feels that heavy to me. It is life or death to my future." And it clicked so strongly in that moment. That is why clutter feels like it's winning, even though you're trying so very hard, because sometimes the choice really is your clutter or your life. Which one are you going to choose? And so that's why I made this video to honor her. Which, by the way, the end of that story is she chose her future and she created the home space that set her up for success, and clutter ceased to be a problem for her. And that is the power of the solution that I'm going to offer to you in three simple questions. But your clutter or your life, if the clutter feels like it's always winning and it's diminishing your life, then this video might be for you. And if we're meeting for the very first time, my name is April Bragg, and I am a clarity coach. I help women become time rich in both life and business, not by doing more, but actually by asking better questions that change what's possible in our lives. And that's what I want to offer to you at the end of this video are three questions that will have you winning the war against clutter. But before we get there, we need to understand why clutter keeps winning. And there's three reasons why clutter keeps winning in our lives. You know, we live in a time and age where things are so abundant that literally things just walk into our house. Today, I had two deliveries arrive at my door while on one call. That is how frequently things are coming into our life. But here's three reasons, very specific reasons why clutter keeps winning. Reason number one is that because we don't actually realize that clutter is a choice. It feels like clutter is just a circumstance that happens to us. But clutter is a choice, and I'm going to show you why and how it's a choice so that you can make a better choice. Reason number two that the clutter keeps winning is because we don't have a good definition of what is or what is not clutter. When we look at our stuff, when I walk through my house now versus 10 years ago, I could immediately see that is clutter. That is something that is not clutter, but it needs a home. And that is something that is not clutter at all. That is something that I very much cherish, and I know exactly where it needs to go. And everything is very clear. But 10 years ago, I could walk through my house and it just felt like stuff. And I wasn't sure what I should keep. I wasn't sure what I should let go. And it's because I did not have a good definition of clutter. And here's the other thing about clutter the definition, it's very personal to each of us. So I define clutter as anything that is slowing us down or weighing us down from what we truly desire in life. But that might be very different. So anything that is like aspirational sewing, that's clutter for me because I don't actually want to sew. Or fancy baking pans and decorating tips, for icing. I used to be into decorating cakes. All of that is clutter now because none of that was aligned with what I wanted to actually be doing. But for somebody who is a cake decorator, I have a second cousin, my mom's cousin. Her name is Tina. I hope she's listening to this. She makes the best cakes, maybe in the world. They are so good. All of her baking instruments, not clutter at all. Now, she would look at my house probably, and maybe she would think that half of my books are clutter. And it's because clutter, the definition of clutter is very personal to each individual. So, we need to have a stronger definition of clutter, but that is why clutter keeps on winning, is because we don't have a strong definition. So, my definition of clutter is anything that is slowing us down or weighing us down, keeping us, interrupting us from what we truly would rather desire doing. And then the third reason that clutter keeps on winning, the definition leads to the third reason, and that is this: we don't actually know what we want for now or a future. That's vague. We're unsure. We as women, especially, are very bad about even asking that question. And the reason is because underneath there is a fear that what we want might be contrary to what is possible or to what somebody else wants. And because we are so relational, we don't want to create that conflict. But it doesn't necessarily have to conflict. In fact, oftentimes it's beneficial to both us and the other person to get honest about what it is we want. So, how do we win the war against clutter? Well, we understand that it's a question of our clutter or our life. What are we going to give more time to? What are we going to give more space to? Will we be brave enough to claim the life that gets our priority, our attention? Will we dare to retake the space? Will we stand up for what we want so much that we're willing to let go of anything that is slowing us down from getting it? That is the question. That is the question that will change your life and your relationship with clutter. When you see your things as this is useful to my future life versus this is not useful to my future life, anything that is highly, highly useful, as in so useful that I want to make a home for it and I want to take the time to maintain it. That's not clutter. That's a useful tool. It's like all the stuff in our house very quickly becomes useful tools or clutter tools. Things that we thought might be useful, but actually they're just kind of taking up space. This is a very useful question. Like my husband, he remodels homes. And one of the reasons why he makes so much money remodeling homes is because he goes lean on the tools that he has. He does not buy every single gadget that is under the sun. I was just doing our taxes and I'm like, we do not have very many depreciable tools, and that is not helping us on our taxes, babe. But it is helping him make more money because he only has the tools that are highly, highly valuable to him. And because of that, he is a lean, money making, remodeling machine. So when we understand, get clarity on what it is we truly desire in our life for today and in our life for the future, then we start looking at our home and everything that's in it, and we start seeing it in those two clear categories: things that are highly useful that I want to make a home for, and things that are only potentially useful but take too much time to maintain, and maybe I can just let them go. And the higher our standard, I think I did a video about this, about raising your standards. But the higher our standard, then the easier it is to maintain, actually, because we only surround ourselves with very useful things. So raise your standards. That is what happened for my client. She got so clear on what was for her future and the type of woman she was going to be and the type of roles that she was going to have and the type of activities that she was going to do, that she was able to look at everything else in her house and say, that's no longer for me. Let me pass it on to bless somebody else. or this is highly useful for me. I will keep it and make a home for it. All right. So I promised you, I'm going to give you 3 great questions, 3 helpful questions to gain some clarity on what you want for your life so you can choose your life over your clutter. Question number 1, ask yourself this. When I see myself in the future, what does she spend her time doing? Or here's another way of asking it. What would her perfectly average day look like? If I could design any future I wanted, what would I design my future perfectly average day? What are the things that I would be doing? What are the things that I would love to give my time to? What do I want to make time for in my life? When I did this exercise for myself, for me, the answer was this. I wanted more time to read and study and play the piano. And so that became very clear that my music was not clutter. My piano music was not clutter. My books were not clutter. But anything, any other hobby that I had that was getting in the way of doing that and it did not give me as much enjoyment as that was clutter. That was actually keeping me from doing the hobbies that I wanted to do the most. What does she spend her time doing? Question number 2, who does she spend her time with? This is such a very important question when we're dealing with who are the important people in our life and who do we want to make time for in our life. And because it reveals to us calendar clutter, as in who are we spending time with that we don't want to spend time with versus who are we not spending time with that we would like to spend time with. And then question number 3 is, oh, and this is the big question. This is so huge. When you think about your future self, how much of her time does she spend maintaining things? As in, how much of her day does she dedicate to the mundane? Now, there's actually 2 different ways of solving this. One is to make enough money to hire other people to deal with the mundane for you. But another thing is just to get rid of a lot of the things that you don't like dealing with. My husband and I are looking at buying a house. This house has a completely rock landscaped yard because my husband does not enjoy the mundane task of mowing his lawn, even though he used to own a very successful lawn care business. He does not actually enjoy coming home to mow his grass. And so I'm indifferent to the idea, but he's looking at it like that is a selling feature of that house, is that it is already rocked landscaped so that you do not have to mow the grass. When we look at our life and decide how much of our time do we want to dedicate to the mundane, the repeatable tasks, that puts us back in control. And that also refines our definition of clutter. So after you answer those 3 questions of what is she spending her perfectly average day on? Who is she spending time with? And how much time is she giving to maintaining the average things in life? Then I want you to do this. I want you to give her a name based upon those answers. So when I did it, my name would have been something like Scholar April. Give her a name, something that reminds you that she is waiting for you, okay? And that your clutter is slowing you down. And then her, I want you to let her make the decisions about all the stuff that's in your life. What would she say? Would she keep those outgrown clothes? Would she keep those just in case items? Would she keep those books that she's finished reading? Would she keep all those extra serving dishes? Would she keep all of this furniture? Would she have all of this stuff? How much would she keep versus how much would she release so that she had time for more things? Because everything we keep, and that's what the third question is answering, everything we keep has to be maintained some way, somehow. It's not just a matter of finding a place for it, it's a matter of moving it if we switch houses, or packing it up, unpacking it, or moving it around if it gets in our way. So, if you're tired of losing the war against clutter, if you're ready to choose your life over your clutter, ask these three questions and then let your future self decide what you keep and what you let go of. She's the wiser version of you, always. I hope this has helped. And if you haven't grabbed it yet, I have a free gift for you. It's my 1 minute decision filter, 3 questions to help you make decisions more confidently. So it'll line right up with this video very closely. If you would like that, go to aprilbragg.com/decide. But in the meantime, remember this: time is your most valuable asset. May yours be multiplied to the benefit of you and the blessing of others. Bye bye.